Okay, so you guys sent us this news story about an earthquake that recently hit Mexico, and you want to know more about it. Well, that's a great topic for a deep dive, so let's jump right in.
Sounds good.
All right, so the article from CBS News that you sent in talks about a 6.2 magnitude earthquake that hit southwest Mexico near this town called Coalcoman de Vasquez Paleares.
Okay.
And luckily, it seems like there haven't been any reports yet of casualties or damage.
Right.
But the Mexican president is monitoring the situation. But the thing that really stood out to me in this article was it mentioned that Mexico sits on 5 tectonic plates.
Wow.
5.
Yeah, that's definitely a lot more than most places.
Yeah, right. It's no wonder that Mexico is one of the most seismically active countries in the world.
Yeah, it's because of its location, right, where all of these massive moving plates meet.
Right. So can you just remind me how tectonic plates actually work? Like what causes these earthquakes?
Yeah, sure. So basically imagine that the Earth's crust is cracked into these giant pieces, right, like a cracked eggshell.
Yeah.
And these pieces, these plates, they're constantly shifting, bumping into each other, pulling apart, or grinding alongside each other.
Right.
And all of that movement builds up an incredible amount of pressure. And when that pressure finally releases, it causes an earthquake.
Wow. So it's like if you bend a stick until it snaps.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a good analogy.
Okay. So the article also mentioned that Mexico City is especially vulnerable to earthquakes.
Yeah.
Even ones that happen pretty far away.
Mm-hmm.
So what makes it so susceptible?
So Mexico City is actually built on a former lake bed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the ground beneath the city is super soft, almost like a giant bowl of jelly.
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
No, it's not good for earthquakes because that soft soil actually amplifies the shaking.
Oh, I see.
Even from earthquakes that start hundreds of miles away on the Pacific coast.
So it's not just the earthquake itself, but the ground beneath the city that makes it even more dangerous.
Exactly. And it's actually led to some really interesting developments in earthquake-resistant building technology.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Mexico City has kind of become a world leader in that area, because they've had to learn some hard lessons over the years.
Right, yeah. Unfortunately, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So speaking of hard lessons, let's talk about some of those historical earthquakes mentioned in the article, like the 1985 earthquake, which was a magnitude 8.1 and caused widespread damage in Mexico City, even though it was centered out on the coast.
Right.
Can you explain how the magnitude scale works and why an earthquake so far away could be so destructive?
Yeah, so the magnitude scale is not linear, it's logarithmic.
Okay.
So each whole number increase on the scale represents a 10-fold increase in the amplitude of the seismic waves and about 32 times more energy released.
Whoa.
So an 8.1 magnitude earthquake like the one in 1985 releases a crazy amount of energy, far, far more than a 6.2.
Yeah, that's a huge difference.
And as we were talking about earlier, Mexico City's soft soil magnified those already powerful seismic waves, which is why there was such catastrophic damage, even though the earthquake started way out on the coast.
Right, yeah, it all kind of makes sense now why it's such a big deal.
Exactly.
So the article also mentions 2 more recent earthquakes, one in 2017 and another in 2022. And get this, the 2022 quake, which was a 7.6, was felt as far away as 1,500 miles away in Death Valley.
Wow.
So how can earthquake energy travel that far?
So the energy released by an earthquake travels in the form of seismic waves.
Okay.
And these waves radiate outward from the epicenter, which is the point on the Earth's surface directly above where the earthquake starts.
Gotcha.
And some of these waves, they travel through the Earth's interior and some travel along the surface.
Right.
And in the case of that 2022 earthquake, those waves were so powerful that they traveled an insane distance.
Wow.
I mean, they even caused 4-foot waves in Devil's Hole, which is this cave in Death Valley.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, it really shows you just how much power is released during an earthquake.
Right, and how interconnected everything is.
Yeah.
So I guess what we've learned is that Mexico's location makes it super vulnerable to earthquakes. And we've seen just how much of an impact these events can have on the region. But it's also been interesting to learn about the innovations in earthquake-resistant technology that have come out of Mexico City.
For sure. Yeah, they've really been pioneers in that field.
Yeah, so it's almost like a living laboratory for how to adapt to seismic risk,
Yeah, I like that description.
So here's something for all of you out there listening to think about. How prepared do you feel for an earthquake?
It's a good question.
What steps could you take, even if you don't live in an area like Mexico City, to be more prepared?
Yeah, it really makes you think about our relationship with the ground beneath our feet.
Yeah, for sure. We kind of take it for granted until something like this happens.
Exactly.
That's about all the time we have for this deep dive today, but I hope you learned something new, and maybe it'll even inspire you to take some steps to be a little more prepared.
Yeah, knowledge is power. Thanks for tuning in.
See ya.